Okay, World Hunger, the jig is up. We've been told that there's just not enough food to go round. It's an impossible problem. It's a scarcity problem. It's too big a problem. It's not our problem. It's not my problem. But what if we told you it's not an unsolvable problem at all? We have enough food on the planet to feed everyone that's hungry. Fact. Actually, we have more than enough. Bam, double fact. The real problem, well, we can't get it to the people who need it. Until now. Welcome to the first time in history that we have the technology to connect excess food with hungry mouths. The homeless, the poor, the kids on the street, Copia connects them all with the food you haven't used. I'm not talking soggy scraps and half-eaten pizza crusts. I'm talking the kind of food that feeds your Instagram feed. Quinoa salads, sourdough focaccias, and freshly made salads with those little cherry tomatoes. We serve amazing food because we believe in the people we're serving. Copia doesn't have a dream. We have a plan. One that works. One that you can be part of. Copia. There's more than enough.
Good morning. I think we could do better than that. Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too. Californians plus rain, never a good story. My name is Komal Ahmad. I am the founder and CEO of Copia. And how many of you have gone to, a wedding, a lunch at Google, attended a conference, and wondered what happens to all of this leftover food? I'm going to assume most of you. No, over there. Well, you're very privileged then. So in most cases, as you guys know, it goes into the trash. But today will be different because any of the excess food from this conference will actually be redistributed to feed hundreds in need right here in Berkeley. Thank you. So my journey began a few years ago when I was a student here at Berkeley, and I encountered a homeless man begging for food. And something about him compelled me to stop and invite him to join me for lunch. And during lunch, this is not working, during lunch he sat across from me just scarfing down his food. So he was unbelievably hungry. It wasn't a ploy or anything. And in between bites, he shared his story. He said, "My name is John. I just came back from my second tour in Iraq. I've been waiting weeks for my VA benefits to kick in. And because I haven't eaten in 3 days." And this really hit home for me. It doesn't matter what your politics are. This is a veteran, someone who had given the most selfless sacrifice for our country, only to come home to face yet another battle, that of hunger and homelessness. And then adding insult to injury, right across the street, Berkeley's dining hall is throwing away thousands of pounds of perfectly edible food. And it was this very stark reality of those who have and waste, and those who are in need and starve, and those two people right across the street, that made me see this actual issue firsthand. And what I realized is this is emblematic of a much larger problem, and that's that, if this works, no? Got it. One more. Yeah, cool. And that's that every single day in America, over 365 million pounds of perfectly edible food is wasted. And I'm not talking about last night's pad thai or this morning's half-eaten croissant, but untouched, unopened, amazing food. And while that's happening, 1 in 6 don't know where their next meal is coming from. So clearly, it's not a lack of food that's the issue. It's an inefficient distribution of that food. Hunger is not a scarcity problem, it's a logistics problem. And it's this logistics problem that I decided I wanted to solve. And so I started by, marching after I met with John, marching up to my dining hall and asking them, what do they do with all of their excess food? And they responded, well, we try not to have any. And I was like, okay, well, how often does that actually work? And after a lot of humming and hawing, they finally admitted that, yeah, they actually do have excess food, but they have to throw it away. So I asked the obvious question, why would you throw it away when you could go literally right across the street in Berkeley, in People's Park, and donate that food? And they said, because of liability, we don't do that. And I was like, yeah, homeless people's high-powered attorneys are standing by just to sue you. And I was so frustrated. You were gonna sell this food to us 10 minutes ago, and now it's not good enough for consumption. And so I went online. I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I went online and discovered the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act. And this is an act that was passed in 1996 by Congress. It protects all donors, regardless whether you're a corporation, organization, or individual, from any liability when you're donating your food. And since 1996, the number of legal claims or lawsuits that have been filed against any business or individual has been 0. So for the last 2 decades, literally nothing has happened. So your second cousin twice removed who told you about that hotel that was, shut down because they donated food, yeah, that doesn't exist. So I printed out the act, I took it to the executive director of our dining hall, and I said, we have to start this donation program. It's the right thing to do, and we're all protected, and I can be pretty persistent when I want to be. And so within 7 minutes, he's like, all right, okay, fine. And he agreed, and we started the nation's first food recovery organization on a college campus. And it was essentially, thank you. And it was essentially a student-powered food recovery movement. So we're recovering food from our dining hall, our on-campus events, our stadium, our arena, redistributing it directly within that community. And it was a great start, hugely inefficient. One day I'm sitting in class and our dining hall manager calls me and he said, hey, Komal, no one came to this event, so we have 500 gourmet sandwiches left over. They need to be picked up in 2 hours, otherwise we're gonna have to throw them away. We need the refrigeration space. Do you want them? I was like, yeah, I want them. So I grab my bag, I dash across campus, I jump into a zip car, because I don't have a car at the time, go through all our one-way streets at 4 p.m. traffic. So if you've ever been in Berkeley at 4 p.m., you know it's chaotic, up to our loading dock. And I'm loading all of this food in my trunk all by myself. And this is perishable food, so it needs to move as quickly as possible. I'm blasting the AC, and I'm frantically getting all of this food in, and finally I slam my trunk shut. And I'm like, this is amazing food. Of course there's gonna be nonprofits that want this. And so I call 30 plus organizations. I'm like, hey, I have this amazing food. Do you want to eat it? Could you use this 500 sandwiches? A third of these organizations don't answer the phone. A third of them say, no, we're okay for today, thanks. And the last third say, yeah, we could use 10 sandwiches or 15 sandwiches. I'm like, awesome, now I have 475 sandwiches. And I'm quite literally on the side of the road wondering, why is it so hard to do a good thing? Why is it so hard to do the right thing? And where are all the people at that are actually hungry when I have this amazing food to give them? And I remember looking at my app, trying to extend my Zipcar reservation, and I couldn't because someone already booked it. So I was like, this is Murphy's Law in action. Like, the next person's just getting 475 sandwiches, that's it. But I remember thinking how much more effective, how much more fluid this could be if those who have food could say, hey, we have food, and those in need of food could say, hey, we could use that food, and we could match these two people and clear the marketplace. And that's exactly what we've done at Copia. And so Copia is a for-profit company that essentially is built to solve food waste and hunger at scale. So businesses request pickups of their surplus food. We match this exact amount and type of food to the nonprofits that are in need at that day, at that time, who can accept that type of food. And then we also dispatch one of our food heroes, which is a certified food handler. They're not volunteers, they're paid drivers, to pick up this food and then drop it off directly to the nonprofit. As a full circle, that nonprofit sends photos and testimonials back to the food provider, so they get to see the impact that they made by spending less than 2 minutes of their time essentially going Copia. And so businesses get a lot of benefits. I mean, waste happens, we all know this. It's more so, what can you do with that waste? And so businesses benefit by getting both top line and bottom line benefits. They get to show the community that they care, whether they do or not, it's irrelevant. They show that they care. They get to reduce their environmental footprint. And also, as a bottom line, they reduce disposal costs. They get $1 back for every pound of food that they donate through Uncle Sam. And they also get to have really great CSR. They get to save thousands in general. So zero liability, zero hassle, thousands in savings. And it sounds like a no-brainer, and it's because it is. We also find full transparency on what you're doing, so you can demonstrate that. So you know how many people you fed, what was your methane offset, where did this food actually go? It didn't go into this magical box. It actually fed people in need. So this year, we have, actually these numbers are not updated, but we have fed over 330,000 people, saving businesses and nonprofits over $4 million. And this year, I'm super excited to share, we're gonna feed 1 million people, all with food that would have otherwise been wasted. Thank you. And what's more is we've never wasted a single pound of food. And a few weeks ago, we partnered with the Oscars, the Vanity Fair, CAA, and we fed over 1,100 people, all with food that would have otherwise been wasted. And this is the first time ever in Oscars history that no food has gone to waste. And you could say, well, these events only happen once a year. But just the other week, organizers at a local tech conference said that, they're going to have 1,400 attendees over the course of 3 days. And so they're going to have maybe a few hundred pounds of food left over. And so we went there thinking, oh, it's just a few hundred pounds. And we get there, and what we come to find is actually enough food to feed over 5,300 people. Remember, this is 3 days, over 1,400 people were supposed to attend, and in 1 day, we recovered food to feed over 5,300 people. And that's just one conference in one city in 1 day. Imagine how many conferences are happening today alone. And pardon my French, but that's a shit ton of food. And so this is the problem that and I'm getting told to move off, but this is the problem that we're trying to solve. In a world with so much technology, so much abundance, so much, innovation, issues like hunger shouldn't exist. And that's why we've deemed it the world's dumbest problem. And we can flip through these testimonials that talk about why this makes total business sense. I want to ask this final question is, what will you do, what will your city do, what will your company do with its excess food? And I hope that it will go Copia.
Excellent.
Thank you.
No, don't go away. We're going to take questions.
Oh, my bad.
So we have...
I ended up hand-delivering those, but very begrudgingly, but I did.
All right, next question was...
Sounds like you guys are doing awesome things, and I like that you monetize them and not attempting to run on volunteers.
You're telling me, sister.
My question to you is, and I'm trying to figure this out, there's other entities very similar to you, some paid, some volunteer. There's a lot of different models involving access, food, and matching.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work, and is there any way that you guys can cooperate?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The question is, well, you're not the only food recovery organization on the planet, so what can you do to help? I'm putting some words in your mouth, but what can you do essentially to, help grow that impact and, create this less fragmented food recovery environment? And exactly, I totally agree. We did not invent the concept of food recovery. We just, mixed humanitarianism with modern day technology and put a business model with it. So I think that what we can do is we don't want to do distribution everywhere, right? In the Bay Area, we do distribution because we really want to understand exactly how we can build this playbook out. So the way that it works in San Francisco, a nonprofit to a for-profit distance is between 0 to 3 miles, but you can't park, traffic sucks. In San Jose and Silicon Valley, the distance is between 7 to 12 miles, but you can park, and traffic is a little less depending on what time it is. What are these different nuances? How does weather take effect? How do you operate at stadiums versus arenas versus universities versus hospitals, and how does that change, and how do we understand the dynamics of that? And the thing is, of course, we could just as easily, we've received over 60,000 requests for our global expansion, from as far as senior government officials in Germany and Austria who are like, we want your technology, we want to help you expand here to help redistribute food and other resources to the Syrian migrants. That's a use case I could never have thought about, when I was a senior in college. And so I think that there's a lot of different opportunities where we could license our technology, and we're starting that across the country in different cities, and figuring out exactly how nonprofits could be the distribution, channel to, and we can also get them access to more food, and then they could be the ones that are. The really important thing for us is that we're not just reducing hunger. Like, obviously that's what I'm passionate about. I think that we can eradicate hunger, but it's also how do we dramatically reduce food waste in the process. And so the little bit of difficulty comes in is how do we make sure that these nonprofits are also confirming these measurements, that the amount of waste, and that also ensuring that, like I said, this is customer satisfaction, right? If your food isn't picked up and you're expecting it and you're paying for that food to be picked up and it's not, that becomes an issue. But if we can find nonprofits that are reliable, that can do this, and they could grow with us at scale, absolutely.
All right, Susan and then Martin. Repeat the question. So the question is the data available to local jurisdictions for a variety of purposes?
Yeah, we'd love to make that available. We really want to partner with cities. We think that this data has power beyond what we already know. And I think that this is something that you can also prove traction with and this is why data is so important, right? So we do track, where does food come from? Where does it go? What's the reduction? So we partner with the 49ers, and we know that we've reduced their surplus by over 50%, which is resulted in tens of thousands of dollars for that Bon Appetit, which is what operates at 49ers, and it makes the chef look really damn good. So, I think that kind of data is what we want to also share with cities so that they can see, like, hey, this is actually working, and how can this work at scale?
Sure. Martin?
Sure, yeah. So, business model. So businesses save tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars through enhanced tax deductions and reduced disposal costs. What we do is we take a percentage of that. Can range from anywhere from 30 to 65%, depending on, how much liability we're taking on our end. By liability, I mean, they're paying this cost over time in terms of a pound fee, but so we take that percentage because it's otherwise money left on the table, or worse, in the trash, that we're enabling you to receive through an entire one-stop solution, so an end-to-end solution through both food recovery and waste reduction.
Okay, so what it would be is as similar as a power purchase agreement that what you'd get when you buy solar panels, right? Is that you pay me money and then you pay me back using the less money that you pay each year for your electricity bills, for example.
Right, but they make money back. I mean, they're saving so much money in comparison to what they're paying us, and this is how you solve food waste and hunger at scale, right? Not just getting money again and again and again from the source, but to actually figure out how do we create infrastructure that can solve this problem and create a scalable model.
Great. Well, thanks so much. People, you're around for the rest of the day?
I'm around for at least a few more hours, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you'll be around at least for the break. So go and find her. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes.